Hello everyone, welcome back. It is late October of 2022, and if you're like us, you have plenty of leaves. In fact, probably a surplus of leaves all over the place. These are maple leaves, but it really doesn't matter for the purposes of today's video. I want to encourage you to make good use of these. These are nature's free fertilizer and mulch for you. So I'm going to show you what we do with our leaves to add them to our garden beds and create a nutrient-rich fertilizer out of gifts from our maple tree in the front yard. So first step, we've got a pile here. We're just going to run them over with the lawnmower and bag them. Now, the reason we want to run them over the lawnmower and bag them is that by shredding them up with the lawnmower, they'll be easier to break down in the soil. So I just kind of lift the lawnmower up. If you just run it straight in, it'll push them all over the place. So I just sort of lift it up a little bit, almost like vacuum them up into the bag. It's kind of amazing how many leaves, when they're shredded and broken down, will fit into that little bag on the back of this thing. I mean, that was a big pile of leaves, and as you'll see by the end here, pretty much that whole pile fills it up. If you're not careful, that'll happen. So to stall out a little bit. But that's why I lift it up a little bit and kind of ease it down. They'll just sort of chop them up and suck them in there. Now, I'm doing this in the driveway. This is just where the pile already was, so I just take it from there. But as you'll see, you can do this in the grass too, and if you lift up a little, you'll avoid having too many grass clippings mixed in with the leaves. You can, of course, always set your mower to the highest setting, sort of also avoid that problem. But here is a nice bag of leaves, and I just dump those in a bin and just do a whole bunch. So here's our front yard, part of the yard that's not usually in videos, but we have an abundance of maple leaves here, so I'll just show you how we do it in a grassy area. Same kind of deal. We're just going to come through, lift the front a touch just to kind of suck them all up in there. It doesn't have to be perfect, and so we'll just go back and forth and do this. I won't film the entire thing, but this is just kind of a nice way to shred those leaves up so that they'll break down in the soil very quickly. And what's really great, they're a great source of nutrients for your garden. We put them in the vegetable garden, flower beds. I also mulch all the fruit trees with the shredded leaves at the end of the year, and by spring they're gone. It's like they were never there. You would never know. So they just make beautiful soil, really rich, fertile soil, nice and fluffy, and they're free. So it kind of solves two problems. So here's our garden bed. This was the one that I built, the raised bed. So we're going to add a whole bunch of leaves in here and just turn them in. Now when I do this in the vegetable garden, I just till them in with the tiller in the fall. And by spring, you wouldn't even know there were ever leaves there. They rot all fall, all winter, all early spring. And by the time it's time to plant the garden, they're really not really any remnants at all of the leaves. It's just really good, thick, rich soil, fluffy, really nice. So they just add so much to it. Now you can just throw these like this as mulch, and so just like these shredded leaves are perfect mulch. I mulch our garlic with them, so I'll put like a good 4 or 5 inches of these shredded leaves on our garlic bed. I'll do, as I mentioned, all the fruit trees like this. All you have to do is just throw the leaves in a pile around the base of the fruit tree as mulch, and by spring, after the snow goes away, you don't even see them. They just become part of the soil. So it's just a nice way to solve two problems, instead of putting your leaves out by the road and they become waste, or bagging them up, throwing them away or whatever, which is just such a waste of resources. You have this beautiful, abundant resource in the fall. Now, in the rest of your yard, you can just run them over with a lawnmower. That's what I do. So when I've got enough leaves, I'll just run the rest of them over with my riding lawnmower like 4 or 5 times, and they'll just turn to dust basically, and you don't have to rake them up. So that might work for you. Hopefully you found this helpful, but definitely use your leaves in your garden. They're a beautiful resource, and they'll add free fertilizer for your plants in the spring.